I've lost money on Amazon and I've made a lot more money on Amazon, and I've simplified the process to 7 steps for getting started with Amazon FBA. If you're wondering how to get started with Amazon FBA, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to be going through the 7 key steps for getting set up and started with Amazon FBA. I've lost a lot of money and I've made a lot more money on Amazon FBA, and I've broken it down to 7 components, 7 key steps that are going to take you from no product to launching a successful product and start making money on Amazon right away. I'm essentially going to be walking you through the 7 most important steps for getting you started up and running so you can go out there and start making money on Amazon. If you guys don't know, my name's Lamar and I'm a 7-figure e-commerce seller. And I'm here sharing my story, sharing my experience so that you can go out there and replicate my success. So you can go out there and diversify your income with Amazon FBA. Now, if you're getting value out of this video, please hit that thumbs up button or click the subscribe button below. And if you've got any questions or you want to share your experience, I'd love to hear from you. Please drop a comment. I read them all and we'll be happy to respond. So let's jump into today's video, and I'm going to break down how you can go out there and start an Amazon FBA business. If you're a complete beginner, you're going to want to pay attention to the end of this video. I think you're going to get a lot of value out of it. Now, right behind me on the whiteboard, this is a brief outline of the topics that I'm going to be discussing, and I'm going to be breaking down, going into a little bit further detail, just what each one of these are, and I'm going to be unpacking them and giving you more information, more in-depth information about what this business just entails and how you can go out there and get started with Amazon FBA. The first thing that you have to do is educate yourself. When I was just starting my Amazon FBA business, or when I was just thinking about the idea, I went out on YouTube, I started listening to podcasts, I started reading up on a lot of blogs, much like the process that you're probably in right now. And that is an excellent place to start. You have to educate yourself. There is a lot of information about Amazon FBA. You need to get a general understanding of how Amazon works, how Amazon's A9 algorithm functions, how Amazon calculates fees, how product pages are essentially designed or developed, how they're displayed on Amazon. There's a lot of small intricacies that of course you're going to learn through process and through doing. However, it's a good idea to go out there and start to absorb information on the topic, much like you're watching this video right now. The fact that you're here watching this video right now is already a step in the right direction. You're already here educating yourself. And that is a fantastic way to start this process. I'm pretty sure that's the way everybody starts this process. Now, of course, there's more trusted information out there in some areas versus other areas, which is why it's also important to join a community or surround yourself with like-minded people. Because if you just hang out with your friends and your family and they might not necessarily be in the same industry or doing e-commerce with you, they're not going to have the same perspective on how to run and operate this business, how to scale this business. So while it's important to educate yourself around the topic, you also want to be seeking a community or an inner circle mastermind that's going to compound that effect, compound that knowledge, so that you can get a second opinion on something. So you can get a third opinion on your product selection or freight forwarding quotes or choosing the right supplier. There's going to be many steps along this process that we're going to be going through that you're going to want to double check. Now, it's important to understand that you don't want to get stuck in the educate step for too long. The most important thing about starting a business or starting an Amazon FBA business is taking action. There's a term out there that's called just-in-time learning. And I really believe in this concept where you just want to learn enough information that's going to help you get to the next step. And then once you complete that step, you learn a little bit more. So if you're in the educate step right now, you want to get a general understanding of Amazon, of how Amazon FBA works, and then you want to immediately start your product research. There's a book out there that's called Marketing Warfare by Al Rez, and I recommend all of my students to read this book because I think it gives us a really great grasp on how different markets are working, and there's a lot of concepts within this book that can be applied to Amazon. In the product research stage, we pull some of these concepts and we evaluate or start to evaluate markets based off of the core concepts from this book. In addition, there's 8 criteria that make or break a market, and we need to evaluate each market on Amazon or each product niche that we're thinking about breaking in with these 8 criteria. The first criteria is sales volume. We want to be evaluating markets on Amazon by sales volume. There's now so many different data scrapers out there, just to name a few: Jungle Scout, Viral Launch, Helium 10. There's many different ones out there that all do essentially the same thing. They help us analyze the sales data that's going through specific markets. The second niche criteria that you need to be thinking about is sales depth. So while sales volume is important, you want to make sure that there's enough volume going through a market. You also want to make sure that there's enough depth going through the market. So out of the top 10, 20 sellers within that respective market, how many of them are actually selling? Is it just the number one seller that's making sales, or are all of the sellers making sales? What is the distribution of sales throughout the market? The third niche criteria is having a unique product. 2-3 years ago, you were able to launch on Amazon with a Me Too product. Basically, take an off-the-shelf product, slap your logo on it, throw it up on Amazon, and it would start selling. Those days are now over, and you really need to understand how to differentiate your product from the market. What are some things that you can do? What are you doing to innovate on that product? Beyond just the logo or the packaging, how are you improving that product? How are you thinking about the customer experience? What are some things that you can do to the product to make it that much better than anything else that's out there? The fifth niche criteria is product expansion. So when we're thinking about launching a product on Amazon, we want to essentially make sure that we can launch subsequent products or product lines off of that product. If we get into a single product category and there's not much room for product expansion or not much room for product or brand growth, it's going to be hard for us to scale beyond that product. So thinking about how we can position our brand and the specific niche that we're breaking into to ensure that we can follow up with subsequent products is going to be super important to your product research stage. 6 on the list is price and profitability. There's many costs that go into launching a product on Amazon, such as cost of goods sold, shipping, duties and fees, Amazon fees, your marketing or Amazon advertising. So there's many costs that need to be included in your upfront analysis so that you have a better idea of your margin and what price point you think you can sell this product at within the market. Number 7 on niche criteria is IP and liability. I've had a couple friends launch products that have been in violation of other people's patents or other companies' patents, and this can be a massive headache. It's really a detriment to your product launch. You put in all this work of finding an idea, sourcing the product, shipping it over, launching it on Amazon, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're in violation of a patent. It's something that you need to check upfront during your product research stage. And the last niche criteria, which is number 8, is trends. This is essentially the concept of just looking at sales trends and knowing what the market patterns or kind of the market fluctuations will be for this specific product. Is it a product that's highly seasonal? Is it a product that was a fad at one time and that fad's either growing or declining? It's a good idea to get a grasp on the trends of the overall product. Is it an upward trend? Is it a downward trend? Just to better understand what the market is kind of looking like over a long-term basis. After you've kind of done your product research and maybe you have a couple of product ideas and you've narrowed it down to maybe one or two, the next step in getting started on Amazon is sourcing. I used Alibaba for many of my first products. I didn't go to China. I didn't go to the Canton Fair initially. I sourced my first maybe 5 to 10 products using Alibaba, and I sourced mainly from China. Alibaba is a great, fantastic website. Of course, there's every so often you run into a bad supplier or a bad egg in the bunch, but for the most part, you can find really good suppliers on Alibaba. And I would encourage you to check out Alibaba when you get to this stage. Once you find a couple of suppliers that seem to have the product that you're interested in sourcing, you're gonna outreach to them and you're gonna evaluate them off of communication and their samples. You might want to do a video tour of their factory. You can hop on the phone with them. Essentially, you're going to be getting married to this factory in a sense, and you want to be casting a wide net. You want to be looking out there for maybe 5 to 10 different suppliers and narrowing it down. You want to be choosing the best supplier that you can find for your product. You're going to start to ask for quotes from these suppliers. You're going to want to include in your quote request, what kind of packaging you want. Do you want an insert card? These are all tiny little things that are going to help build out or formalize your cost structure, and also test the supplier. How willing are these suppliers to work with you? Are they willing to give you that custom packaging? Are they willing to give you that insert card? Is it free? How much does it cost? You're going to get a good feel or grasp just through communicating with these suppliers. You need to be hypercritical within these initial conversations because, like I said, you're trying to weed out the suppliers that aren't going to be willing to work with you and pick the 1 or 2 that will. After you've found a factory that's willing to work with you, do your product customizations, do the packaging the way that you want, then you're going to move into the next stage, pre-launch. During the pre-launch stage is where you're essentially prepping your Amazon listing. You're getting your product ready for sale on Amazon. This is going to take care of creating your Amazon listing, writing up your sales copy for your product page, creating the Amazon images or hiring a photographer to take those images and then getting them edited by a graphic designer. You're essentially going to be preparing your product for sale on Amazon. Now, I put these in the pre-launch stage because these are all things that you can do while your product is getting manufactured. You'll already have a sample of your final product that will allow you to do these things and create your essentially sales page for your product. As your manufacturer is finishing up your production, you're going to move into the next phase, which is shipping. You're going to want to think about, how do I ship this product from China or the country that you're sourcing from to the US or wherever you're planning on selling. You're going to need to find a freight forwarder. You're going to need to know how to label your products correctly so that they can be received by Amazon fulfillment centers. You're going to need to create an Amazon shipment so that your shipment can be received from Amazon fulfillment centers. After your product has left your factory and it's on the water and you've gotten everything set up to be received from Amazon correctly, you're going to move into the launch phase. Now, this is where it gets critical. This is where all your hard work is going to finally pay off. A lot of people focus on just the launch phase, and that's a mistake. A lot of emphasis gets put on the product launch. However, you need to be doing all of these things holistically to launch a successful product on Amazon. You just can't get the product launch correct and expect to be successful on Amazon. Within the launch phase, you're essentially optimizing your listing. You're setting a pricing strategy. You're going to have a review strategy in place. You're going to be launching Amazon PPC, which is one of the most powerful ways to rank and sell products on Amazon. And last but not least, if you're entering into a higher competitive category, or maybe you have extra marketing budget, you might want to run some external traffic to your Amazon listing and give it a little bit more juice. And then the last step on how to get started on Amazon FBA is post-launch. This is one of the most overlooked yet critically important steps of this entire process. Every Amazon product has critical KPIs or key performance indicators. When we're evaluating our product's performance on a week-by-week basis, you absolutely have to be evaluating your product's KPIs so that you can tweak things as you go along. Monitoring your product's KPIs allows you to tweak your product's performance week over week as you continue to go along. You just don't want to put in all this upfront work, launch the product, and expect it to sell really greatly. You have to be monitoring the performance of it week over week and making tweaks to it so that you can continue to scale, so you can diagnose your product if you run in or encounter any problems. It's during this stage that will allow you to optimize your PPC campaigns or potentially adjust your price or optimize your images or maybe your text. It's the KPIs that will allow you to evaluate your listing and help you diagnose the different areas or different things that you need to change or tweak. So there you guys have it. These are the 7 key steps for how to start an Amazon FBA business. I think this is just a brief overview. Obviously, within each one of these categories, each one of these steps, there's much more information that we need to unpack. Now, like I said, you don't want to get overwhelmed with all of these steps. You want to keep the just-in learning concept top of mind, and you just want to focus on your next immediate step. So if you already feel like you have some good grounded educational content, you kind of know or have a gist of how the business model works and different components of how Amazon works, then it's time for product research. How far along are you within product research? Have you found a product idea or not? Only focus on what you need to know next, complete that step, bring it to completion, and then focus on the next. However, I know that there's a lot of people out there that want a nice kind of overview of the full process, and that's what I hope that I've been able to provide you. Now, if you're interested in knowing more, unpacking each one of these steps, I'd encourage you to check out my course. It's in the link below, where I take you through my blueprint, the exact step-by-step process that I've been able to go from $0 to over 7 figures on Amazon FBA. If you guys are interested in that course and unpacking each one of these key steps a little bit more, I'd encourage you to check out the link below. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.